Well, good morning from Lake Winnipeg. This is a massive body of water. People come up here because they can catch massive fish, but you just look out, there's just people all over. In January, if you follow it really close, that's a lot of times where they catch some of the biggest fish. And tell you what, if you've ever dreamed of catching say a 12-pound plus walleye, this would probably be one of the best places on the planet to do it. There's so many big fish, and they're just beautiful fish. They call them the greenbacks because of that iridescent shine on the back. Those big walleyes, that's why all these people are out here, and it's probably one of the best areas if a big walleye is on your wish list. There he is. Boy, these fish make a big red mark, that is for sure. Come on up here. Boy, look at that. Can't even hardly budge her. Here she comes, here she comes. Oh yeah, look at here. Oh my goodness, what a way to open the show. Oh my goodness. Look at that walleye, that big old flutter spoon. Look at the belly, the girth. Oh my goodness. That fish made a mark. It looked like it was 1.5 inches tall in the Vexilar. I knew it was a big fish when it came in. I was just hoping it would bite, but my goodness. That is why people come to Lake Winnipeg right there. Wow, that's a 30-inch walleye right there. Maybe even a little bigger. Look at the belly on it. That's a good, if I were to guess, I would guess that's a 11.5 to 12-pound fish right there. My goodness. Oh, I can hardly squeeze her up the hole. Wow. First fish. Unbelievable. First fish I've marked. First 5 minutes of the morning. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. We're just using these salted shiners. There's a couple of ways that people rig these up. Take a whole one and wrap it around the treble, or just take half. If you wrap it around the treble and hook it multiple times, it stays on the hook better, but I've been just using a half of one here for now. And sometimes I miss more fish if I use a whole one wrapped on each treble, so kind of experiment with that. We've been up on Lake Winnipeg a handful of times over the years, and it's just one of my favorite places. I mean, once you come up here, you get hooked. And this time up, we hooked up with Donovan Pearase. Donovan's been guiding on Winnipeg for, goodness, at least 15 years, I'm guessing. And he's just one of those warriors that's out on the ice every day, and I can appreciate that because I know what it's like to be a guide, and it's a lot of work. And so every day he's out there, working hard, drilling a lot of holes, looking for fish, and getting people on the fish of their lives.
Everyone's coming here for a trophy greenback. It's got to be one of the top 1 or 2 destinations in the world where you have a legitimate chance of your very next fish being a 10 to 12 pound or bigger trophy walleye. They start moving south in the fall, where they start chasing bait into the south basin and into the river systems in the fall, and they kind of stick around throughout the winter ice fishing season, just looking for bait, staying comfortable, and getting ready for the spawn.
Jason Mitchell Outdoors is brought to you by these industry leaders.
Introducing the Rise Float Suit with Motion Float technology. Breathable, waterproof, secure, and all the features that make the difference. Waterproof cell phone pocket, rapid drain system, and maximum flexibility. Fish with security in the Rise Float Suit from Ice Armor by Clam. Rise above. Clam Outdoors. Pursue the ice.
A Vexilar is responsible for more fish being caught than any other piece of equipment you could buy.
You know what? Fishing lures and gadgets have come and gone over the last 60 years. But Vexilar's mission statement has been true, helping anglers catch more fish.
Vexilar is the gold standard in sonar performance and reliability in flasher sonar technology.
Your ice fishing adventure begins and ends with a Vexilar by your side.
Happy 60th, Vexilar!
Woohoo! Yeah, what's my favorite series of hubs? The Clam C-Series shelters work best for us.
what's our favorite ice sub shelter? The X Series from Clam Outdoors.
Choose the hub shelter that's right for you at Clam Outdoors. Pursue the ice.
You know, just because of the big fish potential out here on Lake Winnipeg, you know, you're dealing with big walleyes, you know, big head shakes. You know, a longer rod I think is definitely an advantage. I'm just using that 36-inch professional Ice Team series. Actually, it was designed by Ross Robertson out on the Great Lakes, you know, for fishing big fish and, you know, and sometimes bigger baits, but just got a medium fast action. And really a big advantage I think is using braid. This is just 10-pound frost braid, and you see here when it freezes up, you just run your mitten down it and just clean it off, but you can just be a lot tougher with it. And then I've got a swivel about 2.5 feet above my flutter spoon just to take out a lot of that twist. Then I'm just running a fluorocarbon leader, and in this dirty of water I don't think you need the fluorocarbon from the invisibility factor, but it just makes it a little bit more durable, and so just a combination that's going to work really well for a variety of baits. Look at there. You know, we've been just kind of drilling holes in a grid and just trying to make some big moves here and just trying to find an area where there's some activity here and there's people all over. But that's why people are here. You know, and it's funny, these small walleyes or smaller walleyes, they hit just as hard as the big walleyes. And you know, you look at this flutter spoon, I mean, you can see why a 10 to 12, 13 pound walleye would hit something like that, but goodness, even a 16, 17, 18 inch walleye, they just smoke these. And I imagine some of it too, it's big water, and so you're trying to find the fish, but you're also trying to fish so the fish can find you in this dirty, chalky water. But just a fun bite, man. When they hit it, it just pow. You know, a lot of times you have to be pretty mobile, move around, and just try to get in these zones where there's activity. And what I mean by activity is, you know, you'll just mark bait fish, you'll just mark some clutter on the screen, and if there's some life, you know, then typically we'll slow down because you can drill through big areas and mark nothing. That being said, you know, I'm using a sled just so I can move around, and you know, sometimes the snow can be pretty bad up here. You have to use tracks or have to use a snow bear or snowmobile, but so this winter's been so mild, and so people are just taking pickups out here, and usually there's plenty of ice. There's lots of people out, so kind of reminds me of Red Lake back in the days of old during the crappie boom. You just look out and sometimes you swear you could probably count 500 different rigs as far as you can see off in the distance. See that flutter spoon on the flasher here. The thing with these flutter spoons, you really got to pump them pretty aggressively. It's not like your traditional rattle spoon, and what we're finding, oh, there's a fish right there coming in. What we're finding is you got to keep it moving, make them chase it, just like that. But if you twitch it and stop it, they just don't want it. Make them come up and eat it. These flutter spoons are so effective out here. Some of them might be these fish can find them and see that flash and see that commotion from a long ways away, but yeah, just pump them 1 foot, 2 foot, 3 feet, and just get them fluttering. Don't stop, don't twitch.
Yeah, if you've never been on Lake Winnipeg, it can be an intimidating lake because of the size. And so there's a lot of good guides up in this country that you can hire
and just, you know, get a crash course on Lake Winnipeg fishing. But, you know, the other thing too is that there's so many anglers up here, and there's so many anglers up here from the States. There's a lot of networking that goes on. Even in the hotels in the morning, the bait shops, you're going to see people going out on the lake, and for the most part, people are pretty willing to share information because it takes that network to try to get on fish and stay on fish on a body of water this big. And so people are pretty helpful. And a lot of times, you know, if you see a crowd of anglers, you know, obviously there's something happening, but it's just classic basin fishing, you know. Try to figure out what direction these fish are pushing and try to get ahead of them and just keep leapfrogging and working the flats. And a lot of times it's just featureless flats. These fish could be anywhere, but you just have to put in the work and you can be rewarded.
Oh, that's a good fish. This is a good one here. Get her started. Oh, come on up here. Here she comes, here she comes, here she comes. Oh yeah, I just never get tired of these fish. Look at that. Oh, just the prettiest. Look at that, just that iridescent shine. Gorgeous. Oh, look at that. I don't know, I don't think you could ever catch enough of these. I mean, you talk about catching fish till you wear your arms out. I think you could catch 100 of these and still want to catch one more. That right there never gets old. Wow. There, I'll get her. Oh, she's still mad. Get back in there. There.
You know, this flutter spoon trend that's been on Lake Winnipeg the last couple of years, it's been a fun bite. And I tell you, there's been a lot of things that have been working. I remember even a few years back, people were bringing in Michigan stinger spoons, or just a open water trolling spoon from out on the Great Lakes. People were using KO wobblers, little Cleos. I mean, just all kinds of just big, heavy spoons that, you know, look like overkill for walleye fishing. But the biggest thing is you have to fish them aggressively. And so last couple of years now, we came out with the peg flutter spoon, just a thin diameter, high action spoon that has just been on fire on Lake Winnipeg. But I know this sounds crazy, but what I always tell people when you're using these lures is almost forget that you're using a Vexilar. Don't fish these like you've used a traditional spoon where you're trying to bring fish up and trying to get a response. Just be ripping and pumping these spoons where these fish just show up out of nowhere. And the thing about this is that when you do see fish show up on the screen, you can't stop, you can't change anything. That's what's so difficult about using these spoons. And so it's almost like just shut your eyes and just jig, and all of a sudden, wham, you'll get a fish that just bangs it so hard that you can hardly get your rod tip out of the water. That's how hard these fish will hit these lures. And so fish these lures aggressively. Don't be focused on what you're seeing on your electronics, and just hang on. There's gonna be some of the hardest hits you'll ever see from a walleye.
Here comes one. Oh yeah. There. That would be a really nice walleye in a lot of places, but where we're at, that would be just a baby. Nice. We're up on Lake Winnipeg, and I've joked before, you come up here and fish, it's like tasting sugar for the first time, in the sense there's so many big fish. Here's what's crazy about Lake Winnipeg in my mind. I've been up here before when the fishing was tough, where people would be complaining, oh, I only caught 20 fish today. They were only 15 to 22 inches. I had one 24 inches. I didn't have a master angler. That's a slow, terrible day in Lake Winnipeg. If you're almost anywhere else in the country, that'd be a super day. And so, yeah, the tough days are as tough as anywhere, but this is just an incredible, incredible ice fishery.
You look at the fact that there's interstate all the way up to Winnipeg, and there's all kinds of places to stay. There's hotels, great restaurants. You've got the exchange rate. I mean, this is something where not only is it a bucket list trip, but it's really something anybody can do. You just have to round up a handful of anglers and make the trip. But there's so many people that get hooked on Lake Winnipeg. Once you come up here, you just can't do it one and be done. You'll be coming up all the time because it is addicting catching walleyes this big.
Oh, this is a good fish. And my transducer out. Oh yeah, look at here. Look at that old walleye. Come here, oh yeah. Look at that. But just look at the build on these fish. I mean, they're just thick and just that iridescent green. That right there, that's a fish that put this area on the map. The Lake Winnipeg Greenback. There, we'll get that fish in the water, but just look at that. Just a solid, thick, heavy fish. And what's cool is we're just pumping these. That's just a Clam Pro Tackle peg flutter spoon. We're just putting a whole salted shiner wrapping on that treble hook, and we're just pumping and ripping these spoons, and these fish just come up and slackline you. It's about as fun as it gets if you love to ice fish for walleyes.
Obviously, Lake Winnipeg is a big body of water, and you have to attack Lake Winnipeg. You just can't drill a hole, a 10-inch hole on a lake this size, and just expect that fish are going to swim underneath you. I mean, it could happen, but you have to break down water. And Lake Winnipeg, I would dare say, isn't a body of water where you're going to go up and fish it by yourself. You know, you're usually going to have a group of anglers just because there's things that can go wrong. You're out in track machines, you're out in snowmobiles, big body of water, and so you have to have a team to attack Lake Winnipeg. You know, so we came up here with a group of friends, and you know, obviously the more people you have drilling, the more lines you have in the water, you can just break down and look for fish that much faster. And so, you know, the highs are high and the lows are low. You can cover a lot of water and not mark much. You can have tough days, and you just have to keep grinding away, because when it happens, you know, the entire trip can turn around so quickly, where you can have like a day and a half of just the toughest, worst fishing ever, where you're not marking fish, you're not seeing fish, and then go out the next day and make a little move and drill more holes, and you're on them. And when you're on them, it's something. I mean, it's one of the very best places, you know, as far as just catching big fish. But, you know, I think what gets understated is that Lake Winnipeg's a place where you just catch a lot of fish. And a lot of times, you know, you'll see when you're getting warm, when you're starting to get on fish, I mean, you're just going to see activity. And it's nothing to just, you know, catch a lot of fish, you know, a lot of small fish. And sometimes you have to sort through those smaller fish, you know, to catch those big fish. But when you start getting into fish, I mean, that Vexilar is going to light up. You're going to see schools of shiners coming through. You're just going to see activity. You're going to see small fish coming through. You're going to see big fish coming through. Sometimes those big fish are coming through a little bit higher, but I tell you what, when you're marking fish and catching fish and all of a sudden you drop down and a big red mark comes that's a lot bigger than anything else you've seen, it's like, hang on, because that could be the fish of a lifetime.
All right, there she goes. All right, nice work there.
I've been on this lake for almost a decade, and I've seen a lot of changes. I've definitely seen it change a lot over the 10 years, and one thing I say all the time, you never get the same year twice. I've never seen the same ice conditions, the same bite patterns, even fish concentrations. Some years it seems like you got to get away from the eater bites to get into big fish, and other years it seems like the big fish are mixed in with the eaters, and so it's always changing. We are at a position right now where we have the biggest class of large walleyes we've ever seen. In my 10 years, I've seen these fish go from just endless 20 to 22 inch fish to 24 inches to 26 inches, and now the last 3 years, I'd say we have more 28 to 30 plus inch walleyes I've ever seen. And this year particularly is unreal. And actually last year, unreal the numbers of 30 inch plus fish we're seeing. So this huge year class is getting to its old age. And unfortunately, we don't see a whole lot coming behind it. There's very, very healthy stocks of 20, 22 inch fish, but there's year classes missing. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens, but there's no question right now is the best chance you've ever had in the next year or two for a truly monstrous fish that could be pushing 35, 36 plus inches with this old year class getting to their oldest age.
This is a good fish. This is a big fish. Wow. Oh, I never get tired of this. These fish just freight train it. Oh my. Look at this. Look at that fish. Look how short that dorsal fin is on top of that fish. That walleye is just a tanker. All right, I'm just gonna put her right back in the water here and get that spoon out of her mouth. Oh, barbless hooks just pop right out. But look at that. Look at the belly. You can't build a more prettier walleye than that right there. Wow. See how that fish fills up that hole? You know, this is what's incredible about this. I mean, just look how big that spoon is. It's like a salmon trolling spoon. Sometimes I'm letting them hit and crash into the bottom. There's been fish today that have picked it right up off the bottom. But when they hit these, it's just like a freight train. I can't even describe how hard some of these strikes have been. When you take an 8 to 10 pound fish, and they hit something like that, you feel it in your toes. It's unbelievable.